I still remember my first day at that company like it was a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. Not because anyone yelled at me, not because I messed something up, but because I felt invisible in a room full of people who looked like they were born knowing exactly where to stand. And I know what you're thinking. It's just an internship. Yeah, that's what I told myself too. But when you're 24, broke, new in the city, and trying to prove you deserve oxygen in a corporate building that smells like money and cold coffee, just an internship feels like a test you can fail in 1,000 quiet ways. My name is Mia. I was the kind of intern who apologized when other people bumped into me. The kind who rehearsed saying hi in her head before walking into a room. I didn't come from one of those families with connections or confidence or a parent who could call somebody important and make things easier. I came from a tiny town outside Cleveland, where networking meant chatting with your neighbor while you both held grocery bags. The company I got into was called Bayshore and Amp Company, a mid-sized marketing and analytics firm in downtown Chicago. To me, it might as well have been NASA. Their glass building was so clean and shiny it felt like you had to earn the right to breathe in it. My mom cried when I told her I got the internship. My dad tried to hide his smile like he didn't care. But he cared. That Monday morning, I walked into the lobby gripping my bag strap so tightly my knuckles hurt. The security desk was marble. The receptionist had perfect hair and that calm voice that says, "I've never worried about money a day in my life." The elevator doors opened and I stepped in with a cluster of employees who all looked expensive, not just their clothes, but the way they stood. Like they belonged. I remember staring at the numbers lighting up as we went higher. 4, 5, 6, and my stomach felt like it was sinking even as the elevator climbed. When the doors opened on the 7th floor, marketing, I stepped out and immediately regretted it. The office was open plan, bright, loud in a quiet way. Keyboards tapping, phones buzzing, people laughing like they had insider jokes I'd never understand. Everyone moved fast, like they had somewhere important to be. I hovered near the entrance holding my little notebook like it could shield me from embarrassment. An HR rep pointed to a desk near the break area. "You can sit there for now. Someone will assign you later." That was it. No welcome. No, "we're glad you're here." Just park the intern in the corner. So I sat down and did what shy people do best. I tried to take up as little space as possible. Lunch was worse. I brought a sad little lunchbox with leftover pasta because I was trying to save money. I slipped into the break room like a ghost and found the most hidden seat I could, a tiny table near the wall by the vending machine. Around me, groups formed naturally. People talked about projects, weekend plans, their dogs, their workout classes. Like they'd all been friends forever. And me? I stared at my phone pretending I was busy, even though I wasn't even scrolling. I was just trying not to look lonely. Then a voice cut through my panic, calm and casual. "Hey, is anyone sitting here?" I looked up, expecting some hyper-confident guy in a blazer. Instead, it was a man around my age, maybe late 20s. Plain hoodie, jeans, a laptop tucked under his arm. No badge. Sneakers scuffed at the toes like he actually walked places. He didn't look like a big deal, but he had this soft energy, like he wasn't hunting for power in every conversation. He just looked normal. "Oh no," I said too fast. "No, it's free." He nodded like I'd done him a favor. "Appreciate it." He sat down across from me, opened his laptop, and immediately started working like he had somewhere to be mentally. But he wasn't rude about it. His presence didn't feel like pressure. It felt like relief. And I know how dramatic that sounds. But when you've spent all day feeling like a mistake, one calm person can feel like a life raft. We didn't really talk. Not at first. Just little moments. Like I'd drop my fork and he'd glance up and smile slightly. Like, "You're okay." Or he'd plug in his charger and slide his bag out of the way so I didn't trip. Stuff nobody would post about, but stuff that made me feel less like I was drowning. The weird thing was, he didn't act like anyone else. Everyone else in that office had a rhythm, meetings, calls, loud confidence. He moved quiet, like he was observing, like he didn't need to prove anything. After a few days, it became a pattern. Every lunch, I'd go to my corner table. And a few minutes later, he'd show up, asking if the seat was taken like he didn't already know the answer. At first I told myself it was a coincidence. But by Thursday, it didn't feel like one. One day I forgot my charger. My laptop hit 6%, and my heart almost exploded out of my chest. I was debating whether to cry in the bathroom, or just accept my fate when I felt something slide gently across the table. It was a charger. He didn't even look up from his screen. Just said, "I keep an extra. Intern weeks are brutal." I blinked. "Thank you. I'm sorry, I'll give it back." He finally looked at me and gave a small shrug. "Don't worry about it. Survival first." That was the first time I laughed at work. A real laugh, not a polite one. And from then on, I started looking for him before I even realized I was doing it. Like my eyes would scan the break room automatically. Like my brain was going, "Where's the one safe person?" I didn't even know his name. I heard other people call him Ethan once or twice, but nobody said it with excitement. "No, that's my boss. No, that's the director. Just Ethan." Like he was nobody special, which honestly made me like him more. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Wednesday. The whole floor felt tense because marketing had a presentation due by end of week. You could feel stress in the air like static. People were snapping at each other, walking fast, typing like they were trying to punch through the keyboard. I went to refill my water in the break room, and Ethan was there alone at his usual spot. His laptop was connected to the big TV screen on the wall, probably testing slide transitions. I wasn't trying to snoop. I swear. I just glanced up out of instinct. And that's when I saw it. Big, bold title slide. Q4 campaign strategy. Campaign. Missing the I. And something in my chest twisted. Because anyone who's worked in corporate knows, one typo on the first slide can ruin the whole mood. It makes you look sloppy. It makes people stop listening. Especially when you're presenting to execs. I stood there holding my cup, frozen, arguing with myself. Don't say anything. Don't be annoying. Don't embarrass him. He'll hate you. He'll think you're stupid. Who are you to correct someone? But then I thought about how kind he'd been. How he'd made space for me when nobody else did. And I thought, if it were me up there with a typo, I'd want someone to tell me. My hands were shaking when I stepped closer. Sorry, I said quietly. Can I point something out? Ethan turned in his chair, calm, not annoyed. Yeah, what's up? I swallowed so hard it hurt. Then I pointed at the screen like it might bite me. I think campaign is missing a letter. A beat of silence. My heart was pounding so loud I swear he could hear it. Ethan looked up at the screen. His eyebrows lifted. Then he leaned in closer. And then, he laughed. Not in a mean way. In a relieved way. "Oh my God," he said, smiling wide. "You're right." He shook his head. "That would have been painful." I felt my face turn hot. "I'm sorry, I just noticed it dash." "No," he cut in gently. "Don't apologize." He looked at me like I'd just done something brave. "Thank you," he said. Most people wouldn't say a word. They'd let me walk into that like an idiot. I blinked. "I just thought you'd want to know." He nodded slowly. "I did." Then he said something that landed harder than it should have. "I need more people like you around here. People who actually notice things and don't care about looking cool." I didn't know what to do with that. So I did what shy people do when they're overwhelmed by being seen. I mumbled, "You're welcome," and practically escaped back to my desk like I was fleeing a crime scene. But my stomach felt light, like I'd just jumped off a cliff and somehow survived. That afternoon I got an email. From Ethan. Subject line, "Quick favor." It was short. Friendly. "Hey Mia, thanks again for catching that. If you have a second, can you look over the rest of the deck later and tell me if anything else feels off?" I stared at it like it was fake. Me? The intern? Reviewing a deck? For him? But I said yes. Obviously I said yes. So that night, I stayed late. Not because anyone asked me to. Because I wanted to. I wanted to prove I wasn't just the quiet girl in the corner. I reviewed the slides. Found 2 awkward sentences. Fixed spacing. Suggested one better headline. Sent it back with shaky fingers. His reply came in 5 minutes. "This is seriously good. Thank you." I went home floating. And then Friday happened. Friday morning, HR called my desk phone. I almost didn't even know it could ring. I picked it up like it might explode. A woman's voice said, "Hi Mia, can you come up to the 12th floor?" I froze. What?" "It's a brief meeting," she said. "You're expected in 10 minutes. The 12th floor. Executive level." My soul left my body. I sat there staring at my screen, convinced I was getting fired. Convinced I accidentally broke something. Convinced someone complained that I was too quiet or too weird or not a culture fit. I stood up, smoothed my shirt like that would save me, and walked to the elevator feeling like I was walking to court. When the doors opened on the 12th floor, it felt like another world. Carpet quiet. Lights warm. No chaos. No noise. Just expensive calm. A receptionist smiled. Mia? Right this way. I walked down the hallway, palms sweating, and stopped at a glass door slightly cracked open. I breathed in. Then I pushed it open. And I froze. Because standing in the room, in a sharp suit, looking completely different but also exactly the same, was Ethan. Except he wasn't leaning against a counter in a hoodie. He was standing at the head of the conference table like he owned the air. And sitting beside him were two directors I recognized from company emails. My mouth went dry. Ethan smiled, the same calm smile from the break room. Mia, he said. Hey. I whispered, what? What is happening? One of the directors looked at me like I was crazy for not already knowing. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck slightly, almost awkward. Okay. So, I owe you an explanation. Then he took a breath and said, I'm the CEO. I swear to you. My legs almost gave out. I just stared at him like my brain couldn't compute it. You're the CEO? He nodded. Yeah. I couldn't even speak. All I could think was, I corrected the CEO's typo. I treated the CEO like a random breakroom guy. I ate my sad pasta in front of the CEO. Ethan stepped forward, voice low. Before you panic. You didn't do anything wrong. I laughed, but it came out like a dying noise. I literally corrected you. And thank God you did, he said softly. That's why you're here. Then he said something that hit me right in the chest. I've been moving through my own company quietly on purpose. No entourage, no title, no announcement. Because I wanted to see how people treat someone they think doesn't matter. I stared at him. And you, he continued, were the only person who consistently treated me like a human being. That's when my throat tightened. Because I hadn't even realized how much I'd been holding in until that moment. He looked at the directors. I want Mia moved onto the culture and quality team. Immediately. Paid. Real work. Real mentorship. One director hesitated. She's just an intern. Ethan's eyes didn't change, but his voice sharpened just enough to slice the air. She's not just anything. Silence. Then he turned back to me. His voice softened again. You have something rare, Mia. You're observant. You're honest. And you speak up even when you're scared. I didn't know what to say, so I said the truth. I thought you were. I don't know. Maintenance. IT. A freelancer. Ethan laughed. Yeah, I get that a lot. Then he leaned in a little, smile fading. But here's the part that might bother you. My stomach dropped again. He said, the way people treated me when they thought I was nobody. It wasn't great. And then he added, I'm making changes. Starting with the people who made this place feel cold. That's when I realized. I wasn't called into the CEO's office because I was in trouble. I was called in because I accidentally stepped into the middle of a company war I didn't even know was happening. And me? The shy intern? I had just become a piece on the board. I took the new role. I got paid more. I got real mentorship. I started talking in meetings. I started growing. But here's what I'll never forget. The people who ignored me for weeks, suddenly they smiled. Suddenly they invited me to lunch. Suddenly they acted like we'd always been friends. And I'm not gonna lie. It made me angry. Because where was that kindness when they thought I didn't matter? So here's my question for you. And I genuinely want you to argue about this in the comments. Was Ethan a genius for disguising himself to expose the truth? Or was it manipulative to test his employees like that? Because some people said it was inspiring. And some people said it was cruel. And what would you do if you were Mia? Would you forgive the coworkers who switched up the moment they realized you had power? Or would you remember exactly who they were when they thought you were nothing? Drop your take below. I'm reading everything. And trust me, there's no wrong answer. Just real ones. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next story.